Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA stock. Let's go over what has happened to the stock that has been slightly underperforming the last few days for sure, as the market has been doing, pretty good. The market's been doing pretty all right. NVIDIA has been sort of, not really following suits. To be fair though, it did make this move up first, in my opinion, before the market, so maybe that's why. But nonetheless, I'll give you my thoughts moving forward, and I'll give you what I think, in theory, can happen next to the stock. Again, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is just my opinion. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. And of course, if you do enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts in the charts, and you want my posts, thoughts, updates, etc., live essentially as the market is trading every single day, I do have a YouTube membership, just $3 a month. Link is below. You get access to all my thoughts, post updates, mainly on Tesla stocks, sometimes other stocks as well. Or for $5 a month, you get access to the second tier, which includes NVIDIA, plus of course everything in the first tier. Link is below if you're interested. But jumping into it. NVIDIA closing the day down, surprisingly. Everything else is up except for NVIDIA, down 0.6%. I think on the bright side, my cover calls are doing pretty well. Down 0.6%, closing at 120.69 on the dots. So what does this mean for NVIDIA moving forward? Has it lost its mojo? Is the momentum dead? Is the stock done? Or is there still hope? Do the bulls still have control? Let's talk about that. So let's start with the daily chart, right? The daily chart is looking okay. Yeah, I think the daily chart is actually surprisingly, it's still looking pretty okay. Yeah, it's been showing some weak momentum, and it could potentially show continued weak momentum, because I actually do think the market is starting to reach an area where, a pullback wouldn't be completely unexpected. At least a short-term pullback, like for instance, if QQQ pulls back to about 485, which, from here will be another pullback of about, 1.5% maybe, right? It wouldn't be completely unheard of for that to happen, right? Which can potentially affect NVIDIA, right? So that is a potential possibility. But the way I look at it is this, right? So NVIDIA this morning did have that little morning sell-off, with other semis. I think AMD even sold off as well, though AMD is actually outperforming NVIDIA now. But it pulled back right to the 8 exponential moving average, and it held both of them above once again. So it is holding above both of these moving averages, which is, a nice sight to see. I do like to see that. But the thing that I'm also okay with, I guess, is the fact that this, exponential moving average, the 8, where it was sitting at, was at about 119, right? And 119 is a pretty important level, right? That is a level that you can see I wanted to hold, which is exactly where we bounced from. And this is exactly what I told my members about even this morning. If I go all the way down to, I think, here, let me see where it is. I think it was this one here then. It might have been this post right here. I think it was this one here. NVIDIA did lose the pre-market low this morning, but the bulls are stepping in around 119, which is good. The stock has been surprisingly weak the last couple of days. I definitely expected more, but as long as 119-ish holds, I think the bulls still have control here. And you can see that's exactly where we end up finding that support, and well, got that bounce, right? So that's a good sign. The fact that the bulls stepped in there is a good sign, right? That's exactly where the bulls needed to step in, and they did. So moving forward, what does NVIDIA need to do? Well, the way I started looking at it is a little bit more, a little more zoomed out in a sense, where I think we're actually in a larger pennant than I initially expected. We had this 1 hour pennant that we had over here that I drew. Remember this one here, right? It looks something like this, where we did break out, which is why I'm still bullish on NVIDIA, and we're still above all the exponential moving averages on the daily. Well, not the daily. The daily we're below the 50 still, but the 1 hour, the 1 hour still looks pretty good to me. I don't see any cause for concern on the 1 hour just yet. I think the stock is just consolidating, and I still think it's looking pretty decent. In fact, you can even maybe argue it's kind of printing a bit of a rising triangle pattern where it's constantly getting rejected at the exact same level roughly, which is at about 122. However, it's constantly making arguably higher lows. Well, not arguably, literally higher lows. So, I still think the 1 hour, I actually don't think it looks bad. I think the stock has been underperforming, but I think it's just kind of gearing up for a potential move potentially soon, honestly, right? Assuming the market doesn't collapse, which there is a risk of that. Go back to the daily chart. So essentially the way I'm looking at NVIDIA now is a little bit more on this slightly more zoomed out approach, and it might be honestly in a larger pennant than I expected, which we ended up just essentially forming off of yesterday's high, which can look something as you see on your screen. So the way it looks is this. As long as NVIDIA ideally holds about 119, that's great. However, if the market pulls back and let's say the QQQ does get that 1.5% pullback, etc., and NVIDIA follows suit, from here, NVIDIA will pull back, pretty much in line with QQQ of about 2.6%, right? Roughly in line with QQQs, of course. That would pull it back right into about this kind of, we'll say 117 to 118 sweet spots, which is going to be essentially the bottom of this pennant. So there is a chance that we get this nice move like this. We have this move up here, and there is a possibility, in my opinion, don't be too surprised. This is a quote unquote worst case scenario while maintaining the bullish thesis that it does get one more pullback all the way down here, closer to about 117. ish, we'll say, right? Give or take, of course, 117-ish, depending on how quickly it happens, to the bottom of this pennant. And then from here, we can potentially form an actual bottom, and then that could be what slings us back up, right? And the market will make it potentially really difficult for anyone to figure out what the hell's happening with the stock and make people panic sell here just before it rockets. Like that, you know, wouldn't surprise me, to be completely honest with you. So let's see how that goes, right? But that's something that you just shouldn't be surprised about. Now, ideally, like we avoid that, and NVIDIA essentially just continues holding this 119 region, and from there it just blasts off. Or the best case scenario for the bulls is the fact that it arguably from here, more or less, you know, maybe tomorrow, maybe Thursday, maybe even waits until Friday, kind of goes sideways, but ultimately it breaks out of this pennant, which essentially would come with a break of about $122 per share, roughly, right? If that can happen, and especially if it can break this high over here, which is again pretty much 122, that would be pretty bullish, and I think NVIDIA will make its way at the very least to 125, where this 50 exponential moving averages. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually makes its way ultimately a little bit higher, and you know, closer to the higher end in the 120s, maybe even slightly peeking its head into the 130s, which has been my target for quite some time, and it still remains to be my target unless something obviously drastically changes, which there's always a risk, of course. There's always a risk. Currently, I'm in the trade I'm in right now. Again, I have covered calls on my shares, but I am in a pretty much risk-free trade. Because if NVIDIA ever falls out of this pennant, which is essentially below 117, that's pretty much my average right now. I think the shares that I bought, I think I bought them at like 116 and change. I think I bought them right here. I bought them when NVIDIA was right around here. So I'm pretty much in a risk-free trade, right? I'm slightly making money on it while I'm waiting for it to do anything or to figure out where the hell it actually wants to go with covered calls. But yeah, that's my personal situation for some transparency, I guess. But again, that's just me. Don't follow me, guys. This is not financial advice. Make sure you do your own decisions. So that's kind of the overall perspective that I'm eyeballing on NVIDIA. And again, the 1 hour chart, 1 hour is becoming one of my favorite time frames. I actually really like the 1 hour chart lately. It's absolutely phenomenal. You can see short-term and overall long-term movement on the 1 hour chart simultaneously. Pretty powerful stuff. So the 1 hour chart is still looking good. I mentioned this earlier. I'll mention it again. I still think the 1 hour chart is not looking too bad. I think it's still looking pretty okay. I don't see any cause for concern. Again, worst case scenario is that pullback to, like I said, about 117, which, you know, you can see has had a bit of a resistance back on these candles over here. So we would essentially be pulling back to these candles over here. That was a resistance, maybe turning back into support, right? Which will look something like this. And then from there, we rocket, which will be that bottom of the pennant that we are in, and that I just showed you on the daily chart, right? Which will look, again, something like this, give or take, right? This is roughly what it looks like on the 1 hour as well, right? Something like this, give or take, of course. Not perfectly drawn, but you get the idea. It's close enough, right? Something like this, right? Is roughly where we're sitting at right now for NVIDIA. So, you know, again, don't be too shocked if that, in theory, happens. But again, as long as that holds, I do think it goes higher. I mean, it's still holding all the exponential moving averages on the 1 hour chart. I still think the chart on the 1 hour, I see no reason to be concerned. Now, again, the reason for concern would be is if number one, NVIDIA drops out of this pennant, drops, you know, decently below 117, and, you know, starts closing 1 hour candles below 117 roughly. You know, if we start seeing those sort of things, okay, not so good anymore. I'm not gonna lie, momentum is really fading, because on top of that, there's a good chance that these exponential moving averages will cross back down to being bearish. Essentially, if I see these bad boys, both of them get back under the 50, I'm out. And I'm patient, and I'm waiting until it actually sells off and I get a better entry, or it reclaims them and I see bullish momentum once again, right? That's kind of my current trading strategy on NVIDIA, right? I'm just letting that play out as is. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think down below. Thank you so much for watching. Very quickly, let's take a look at options flow. Actually, NVIDIA right here, you can see, I'm not gonna lie, options flow on NVIDIA has been muted. Maybe all the attention is on Tesla. One did come in that, you know, was a bit interesting. 6.2 million call came in on NVIDIA, expiring a year out. Actually, I just realized it is a year out. 120 strike, but it is a year out, so there is a lot of time on that. So again, it's not going to really give us too much information short term. And in terms of confirmed options flow on bearish or bullish, whether it's, you know, bearish or bullish on NVIDIA, it is actually confirmed 26 million bearish flow today. So yeah, you know, there's a chance that we get one more pullback like this to 117. Best case scenario, ideally rather, we hold 119. Best case scenario is we just go from here. But as long as we are contained within this channel and we do not lose it, I do believe this is a bullish continuation channel, or not channel, pennant. And I do give the bulls the upper hand while we stay within it, and while these exponential moving averages on the 1 hour remain crossed bullish. Yeah, pretty simple. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Peace.